long as you understand that this is always going to be what you're remembered for, basketball and your love for basketball should always be pure.
The kids today, they're being given things that they haven't earned. And I don't want to seem like an old school, traditional, bitter type of guy. You ask me, and I'm telling you that I think the game is being cheated because of the success that's being given prior to them earning it. Simple as that.
It's pay it forward. I have an obligation to the game of basketball, not financially. I'm okay. I mean, I think more or less from as a basketball player is to be able to pass on messages of success and dedication to the game of basketball.
Still love it?
Love it like you wouldn't believe.
Anthony Edwards stood in front of the whole world and basically said Larry Bird was washed, nobody from that era could hoop, and Michael Jordan was the lone exception worth acknowledging. One sentence from a guy who openly admitted he never once sat down and studied the film, and the entire basketball universe erupted like somebody dropped the match in a gas station. What Ant didn't realize is that Jordan had already been locked in, already making quiet calls to people deep inside the Minnesota organization long before this went public. And what MJ found when he started digging wasn't some cold-blooded young assassin ready to take the torch and run with it. Hold up, what he actually found was a player who couldn't even solve a basic double team without falling apart at the seams. Jordan didn't run to his phone, didn't post the clap back, didn't fire off a single tweet into the void. Nah. He did something so much more dangerous than that. He got in front of a camera, stayed completely calm, and dissected Edwards so precisely it made Ant look like a kid who stumbled into a room full of grown men and started talking out of turn. Here's exactly what Edwards said, every single word of it.
Didn't watch it back in the day, so I can't speak on it. They say it was tougher back then than it is now, but I don't think anybody had skill back then. Michael Jordan was the only one that really had skill, you know what I mean? So that's why when they saw Kobe, they were like, oh my God, but now everybody has skill.
The man literally confessed he never sat down and watched the tape, then had the audacity to clown an entire era in the same breath. Every legend who sacrificed blood, sweat, and prime years before Edwards even touched a basketball. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Hakeem Olajuwon, Isaiah Thomas, all of them written off as unskilled in 10 flat seconds on a podcast by a guy who still hasn't sniffed a championship ring. Hold up, let that sink in for a second. And that's exactly when Jordan decided to walk into the room. Not fired up, not emotional, not rattled, but armed with something so much deadlier than all of that. Pure, cold, undeniable facts.
And I had a conversation this summer with a high executive at Minnesota, and he was talking about Anthony Edwards.
Yep, Ant-Man.
I heard during the course of the year that, they were double teaming me. He didn't know how to deal with the double team. Well, that's the highest respect that you can ever get if a team feels like they got to double team you. Now, how do you figure out a way to break that double team? Move without the ball, move into the post, get in scoring position so that the double team, you can act before the double, all those simple things.
Jordan went straight to a Minnesota executive and asked about Edwards. No small talk, no warm-up. What he heard back only locked in what he already knew. The guy out here calling legends unskilled couldn't even crack the most fundamental defensive strategy in the game. Jordan lived inside that double team every night for more than a decade. Bird dissected it with passing that looked like it came from another dimension. And Edwards, he couldn't figure it out. Jordan made sure one word hit different when the cameras were rolling, and that word was simple. He said simple, and he meant for every single person watching to feel that. So let's be clear about what's actually going on here. The same player disrespecting legends can't solve the very first obstacle every elite guard is supposed to master. But hold up, what Jordan said after that goes even deeper, and it reveals exactly why Edwards' comments got under his skin the way they did.
The kids today, they're being given things that they haven't earned. And I don't want to seem like an old school, traditional, bitter type of guy. You ask me, and I'm telling you that I think the game is being cheated because of the success that's being given prior to them earning it. Simple as that.
The game is being cheated, and those aren't my words. That's straight from Michael Jordan's mouth. Anthony Edwards got the signature shoe, the max money, the ad campaigns, the personal brand, and the cultural moment before he ever carried a team to a title, before he ever figured out how to break a double team. Let that sink in. And now this man is sitting on a podcast calling the legends who laid the foundation for everything he has unskilled? That's the wound Jordan is pointing at. The trophies and the checks and the spotlight arrived before the dues were paid. And listen, when the throne gets handed to you before you fought for it, the fire inside just fades out.
It's hard to be hungry when you have. Simple as that. I mean, if you don't have, you are willing to do whatever you have.
And this is where Jordan takes it way beyond just one man, because he's not coming for Edwards specifically. He's ripping the whole machine apart, a system that's been rotting from the inside for years.
You know, everybody has to have a logo. Everybody has to have I'm pretty sure I'm part of the reason why everybody tries to get a logo, but
brand, right?
A brand.
Right, brand Jordan.
But the thing is that brand is established based on what I did on the basketball court. You know, I didn't put the brand before I put the work. You know,
Right.
I put the work first, and then the brand evolved based on the work.
Jordan didn't just earn brand Jordan, he built it on a pile of broken dreams and championship trophies. 6 titles, 6 finals MVPs, and a decade of dominance so suffocating that a billion-dollar brand wasn't a business move, it was just the obvious next step. Edwards earned his spotlight by being must-see TV, by being the guy you pull up on your phone to show your friends. And Jordan is making it crystal clear, with zero subtlety, that those two paths are not even in the same conversation. Hold up, because here's where this whole story flips in a direction that genuinely nobody saw coming. Jordan actually pulled back the curtain on his own contract, and what he revealed exposes just how fundamentally different his entire relationship with the game of basketball was compared to how Edwards and his whole generation approach it.
My love of the game within my contract, which that if I was driving with you down the street and I see a basketball game on the side of the road, I can go play in that basketball game. And if I get hurt, my contract is still guaranteed. I love the game so much that I would never let someone take the opportunity for me to play the game away from me. As opposed to now where you don't have it, players probably don't play. Now they get individual attention with their trainer.
And if you think Jordan was being cold-blooded with that take, buckle up because the evidence is about to hit different. What Larry Bird did to grown men on a professional basketball court wasn't just skill, it was a whole psychological crime scene. We're talking about a level of mastery so terrifyingly precise that defenders didn't just lose, they lost their will to compete. Listen to this. Player after player who had the misfortune of guarding him all tell the exact same haunting story. He would look you dead in the eyes and tell you exactly where he was going to shoot it from. Then, and this is the part that should keep defenders up at night, he'd do it anyway, right in your face, and you just stand there, helpless, watching it happen like you knew the ending of a movie but couldn't stop it.
As long as you understand that this is always going to be what you're remembered for, basketball and your love for basketball should always be pure. We would play this game, I've always said this, we would play this game for free. We did. And now we just so happen to get paid for it.
That right there is exactly why Jordan's words landed like a freight train. Edwards crumbles the second a double team shows up, but the man he had the nerve to call unskilled was literally announcing his next shot to elite defenders and still cooking them. Hold up, that's not a talent gap, that's an entire philosophy gap. Anthony doesn't just lack the move, he lacks the understanding of what skill actually is at that level.
He told me, young fella, let me tell you something. I can shoot a jumper anywhere I want to. You're supposed to be a great defender, right? I'm gonna make sure I tell you where I'm gonna shoot the ball at. So he went right to that corner, and I'm up on him, I'm under him, and he said, young fella, what did I tell you I was gonna do? And he turned around, raised up, and it was all drawn. And I said, shit, I ain't gonna mess with you no more. He was the coldest dude I ever seen.
Game on the line, 5 seconds left, and Bird literally told his defender exactly where the shot was coming. No bluff, no hesitation. He hit it anyway, cold as ice, because the man did not fear a single soul on that floor. Then, hold up, he actually apologized for leaving 2 seconds on the clock because he wanted the full buzzer beater moment. That's not confidence, that's a different dimension of human being entirely. And listen to this, it wasn't a one-time thing. It happened repeatedly to the best, most elite defenders the league had to offer. And when players dragged themselves home after Bird put them through the ringer, they tried to explain what happened, and nobody bought a single word of it. You had to witness it with your own eyes to even begin to believe it was real. Bird knew exactly what made him untouchable at that level. And trust me, it had absolutely nothing to do with handouts or favorable treatment. That man built every single bit of it himself. Countless hours locked in silence. No spotlight, no entourage, no endorsement check. Just hardwood, a basketball, and an obsession with being the last one standing. That is the man Anthony Edwards casually clowned under 10 seconds on a podcast. And hold up, it wasn't just Jordan who caught those words and felt some type of way. Kevin Garnett stepped in and dragged a whole generation by their full government names. KG co-signed every single word Jordan said, backing up the cold hard truth that this generation calling legends unskilled wouldn't have lasted one brutal season in the era they keep disrespecting. But hold up, here's the part everybody conveniently skips over. Jordan isn't out here defending Bird's legacy just to clap back at some young player trying to make noise. Girl, he is genuinely haunted by the game itself, consumed by it, obsessed with it, defined by it. And that right there is the exact thing that puts him in a completely different universe from everyone coming out of Edwards' generation. That's not ego talking. That's what's born when basketball stops being a sport and starts being the very air you breathe. That's what happens when every single cell in your body is hardwired for competition and nothing else. Jordan cannot flip that switch off. He never learned how. And honestly, he never wanted to. So now he's sitting there watching a player who can't even crack a double team step in front of cameras and tell the whole world that the most ferocious competitors who ever laced up had zero skill. Hold up. When Bird finally hung it up, Jordan said something so raw, so deeply felt, that it exposes exactly how much reverence he carried for the man Edwards just casually threw under the bus. The most competitive player to ever lace up sneakers wanted Bird eliminated because Bird was genuinely, terrifyingly, disruptively great. And now, decades later, some guy who folds the second he sees a double team has the audacity to call that legend unskilled. Bird responded with more grace and dignity than Edwards could ever hope to earn. Magic Johnson had the last say, period. And that's exactly the point you need to understand. Jordan isn't out here running his mouth because he's nursing some old wound. He's not losing sleep over clapping back at somebody half his age. What's actually driving him is this deep, burning sense of duty to guard everything this game was built on. Bird didn't wait for a coach to push him. He locked himself in a gym for hours, chasing perfection like his life depended on it. Nobody told him to do that, nobody scheduled it, nobody even asked. Jordan had a clause written into his actual contract so that no team, no front office, no suit in a boardroom could ever take the game away from him. These weren't just talented athletes, they were obsessed, borderline crazy men who willingly gave up everything regular people consider a good life. They traded normal for legendary, and they did it on purpose. Anthony Edwards, the talent is real. I'm not even going to pretend otherwise. But listen, talent that doesn't bow to the foundation it's standing on is just arrogance wearing a jersey. And Jordan, he didn't argue, he didn't explain himself, he just cut the mic and reminded everybody what real legacy sounds like. If you finally see why Edwards stepped in it with this one, smash that like button right now. If you think Ant had a valid point and Jordan overreacted, drop your take in the comments because I genuinely want to hear it. And if breakdowns like this are exactly what you've been looking for, hit subscribe because trust me, we are nowhere near done.